Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. Chapter 7, Mudbloods and Murmurs. Harry spent a lot of time over the next few days dodging out of sight whenever he saw Gilderoy Lockhart coming down a corridor. Harder to avoid was Colin Creevey, who seemed to have memorized Harry's timetable. Nothing seemed to give Colin a bigger thrill than to say, "All right, Harry," 6 and 7 times a day, and hear, "Hello, Colin," back. However exasperated Harry sounded when he said it. Hedwig was still angry with Harry about the disastrous car journey, and Ron's wand was still malfunctioning, surpassing itself on Friday morning by shooting out of Ron's hand in charms, and hitting tiny old Professor Flitwick squarely between their eyes, creating a large, throbbing green boil where it had stuck. So with one thing and another, Harry was quite glad to reach the weekend. He, Ron, and Hermione were planning to visit Hagrid on Saturday morning. Harry, however, was shaken away several hours earlier than he would ever have liked by Oliver Wood, captain of the Quidditch team. "What's the matter?" Harry said groggily. "Quidditch practice," said Wood. "Come on." Harry squinted at the window. There was a thin mist hanging across the pink and gold sky. Now he was awake. He couldn't understand how he would have slept through the racket the birds were making. "Oliver," Harry croaked, "it's the crack of dawn." "Exactly," said Wood. He was a tall and blurry 6th year, and at the moment his eyes were gleaming with mad enthusiasm. "It's part of our new training program. Come on, grab your broom and let's go," said Wood heartily. "None of the other teams have started training yet. We're going to be the first of the mocks this year." Yawning and shivering slightly, Harry climbed out the bed and tried to find his Quidditch robes. "Good man," said Wood. "Meet you at the pitch in 15 minutes. When he'd found his scarlet team robes and pulled on his cloak for warmth, Harry scribbled a note to Ron explaining where he'd gone and went down the spiral staircase to the common room with Nimbus 2000 on his shoulder. He had just reached the portrait hall when there was a clatter behind him, and Colin Creevey came dashing down the spiral staircase, his camera swinging madly around his neck and something clenched in his hand. "I heard someone saying your name on the stairs, Harry. Look what I've got here. I've had it developed. I wanted to show you." Harry looked bemusely as the photograph Colin was brandishing under his nose. A mooing, black and white Lockhart was talking down on an arm Harry recognized as his own. He was pleased to see that his photographic self was putting up a good fight and refusing to be dragged into view. As Harry watched, Lockhart give up and slumbered, painting against the white edge of the picture. "Will you sign it?" said Holly eagerly. "No," said Harry flatly, glancing around to see that the room was really deserted. "Sorry, Colin, I'm in a hurry. Quidditch practice." He climbed through the portrait hole. "Oh, whoa, wait for me. I've never watched a Quidditch game before." Colin scrambled through the hole and after him. "It'll be really boring," Harry said quickly, but Colin ignored him, his face shining with excitement. "You were the youngest house player in 100 years. So weren't you, Harry? Were you?" said Colin, trotting alongside him. "You must be brilliant. I've never flown. It is easy." "Is it your own broom? Is it the best one there is?" Harry didn't know how to get rid of him. It was like having an extremely talkative shadow. "I don't really understand Quidditch," said Ron breathlessly. It is true that there are 4 balls, and 2 of them fly around trying to knock people off their brooms." "Yes," Harry said heavily, resigned to explaining the complicated rules of Quidditch. "They are called bludgers. There are 2 beaters on each team who carry clubs to beat the bludgers away from the side. Fred and George Weasley are the Gryffindor beaters." "And what are the other balls for?" Colin asked, tripping down a couple of steps because he was gazing open-mouthed at Harry. "Well, the quaffle, that's the biggest red one, is the one that scores goals. 3 chasers on each team throw the quaffle to each other and try it and get it through the goal posts at the end of the pitch. There are 3 long poles with hoops on the end. And the 4th ball is the golden snitch," said Harry. "And it's very small and difficult to catch. That's what the Seekers got to do, because the game of Quidditch doesn't end until the snitch has been caught." And whichever team's sicker gets the snitch earns his team an extra 150 points. And you're Gryffindor seeker, aren't you? Said Colin in a wee. Yes, said Harry, as they left the castle and stared across the dew-drenched grass. And there's the keeper too. He guards the goalposts. That's it, really. But Colin didn't stop questioning Harry all the way down as the slapping yarns of the Quidditch pitch. And Harry only shook him off when he reached the changing rooms. Colin called after him in a piping voice. Piping. I will go and get a good seat, Harry, and hurried off to the stands. The rest of the Gryffindor team were already in the changing room. Wood was the only person who looked truly awake. Fred and George Weasley were sitting puffy-eyed and toast-haired next to the fourth-year Alicia Spinnet, who seemed to be nodding off against the wall behind her. Her fellow chasers, Katie Bell and Angelina Johnson, were yawning side by side opposite them. There you are, Harry. What kept you? Said Wood briskly. Now I wanted a quick talk with you all before we actually get onto the pitch, because I spent the summer devising a whole new training program, which I really think will make all the difference. Wood was holding up a large diagram of a Quidditch pitch on which were drawn many lines, arrows, and crosses as different colorings. He took out his wand, tapped the board, and the arrows began to wiggle over the diagram like caterpillars. As Wood launched into a speech about his new tactics, Fred Weasley's head drooped right onto Alicia Spinnet's shoulder, and he began to snore. The first board took nearly 20 minutes to explain, but there was another board under that, and a third under that one. Harry sank into a stupor as Wood droned and on. So, said Wood at long last, jerking Harry from a wistful fantasy about what he could be eating for breakfast at this very moment up in the castle. Is that clear? Any questions? I've got a question, Oliver, said George, who were walking with a start. Why couldn't you have told us all this yesterday when we were awake? Wood wasn't pleased. Now listen here, you lot, he said, glaring at them all. We should have won the Quidditch Cup last year. We are easily the best team, but unfortunately, owing to circumstances beyond our control, Harry shifted guilty in his seat. He had been unconscious in the hospital wing for the final match of the previous year, meaning the Gryffindor had been a player short and sustained their worst defeat in 300 years. Wood took a moment to regain control of himself. Their last defeat was clearly still torturing him. So this year we trained harder than ever before. Okay, let's go and put our new theories into practice. Wood shouted, seizing his broomstick and leading the way of the changing rooms. Stiff-legged and still yawning, his team followed. They had been in the changing room so long that the sun was up properly now, although the mats of mist hung over the grass in the stadium. As Harry walked onto the pitch, he saw Ron and Hermione sitting at the stands. Aren't you finished yet? Called Ron incredulously. I haven't even started, said Harry, looking jealously at the toast and marmalade Ron and Hermione had brought out to the great hall. What's been teaching us a new moves? He mounted his broomstick and kicked to the ground, soaring up into the air. The school morning air whipped his face, walking him far more effectively than Wood's long talk. It felt wonderful to be back on the Quidditch pitch. He soared right around the stadium at full speed, racing Fred and George. What's that funny clicking noise? Called Fred as they hurtled around the corner. Harry looked into the stands. Colin was sitting in one of the highest seats, his camera raised, taking picture after picture, to sound strangely magnificent in the deserted stadium. Look this way, Harry, this way, he cried shrilly. What's that? Said Fred. No idea. Harry lied, but on a spurt of speed that took him as far as possible from calming. What's going on? Said Wood, frowning as he skimmed to the air. Why is that first year taking pictures? I don't like it. Who could be a Slytherin spy trying to find out about the new training program? He's in Gryffindor, said Harry quickly. And the Slytherins don't need a spy, Oliver, said George. What makes you say that? Asked Wood testily. Because they are here in person, said George, pointing. Several people in green robes were walking onto the pitch, broomsticks in their hands. I don't believe it, Wood hissed in a rage. I broke the pitch for today. We'll see about this. Wood shot towards the ground, landing rather harder than he meant to his anger, stuttering slightly as he dismounted. Harry, Fred, and George followed. Flint, Wood bellowed at the Slytherin captain. This is our practice time. We got up specially. You can clear off now. Marcus Flint was even larger than Wood. He had a look of trollish cunning on his face as he replied. Plenty of room for all of us, Wood. Angelina, Alicia, and Caddy had come over too. There were no girls on the Slytherin team, who stood shoulder to shoulder facing the Gryffindors, leaving to Emmet.